I am Anil Kumar. Welcome to your YouTube channel. Let me thank all of you for posting questions and your suggestions regularly. And that is where your request and our solutions come together and it becomes a learning platform, absolutely free since last 15 years. In this particular video, objective is to understand the patterns in hundreds chart. Now, whenever we begin with patterns, this is normally the first thing to learn for most students, first 100 numbers. Now, we have a chart here which actually begins with 0 and not 1. So it is slightly different from what we had been seeing. So I hope you'll find this very interesting. Most of the patterns are similar to what we normally see in our hundreds chart, which is from 1 to 100. This one is from 1 to 99 or 0 to 99. So 0 to 99 also make up 100 numbers. As you can see, it fills up 10 by 10 square. Perfect. Now, you can always pause this video and write down the patterns which you see in this particular chart. So we have put whole numbers starting from 0 and 99 fit in this 100. Perfect. So let's begin with what you really see as you so this is a 10 by 10 matrix you may call. And what you really notice is so these are the rows, right? These are the rows and these are the columns. So we'll describe a pattern with rows and columns and then we'll also take up diagonals, right? Great. So let's begin with rows. As you can see, there are 10 rows and 10 columns. And what is happening is that if I move on a row towards right, any row towards right, the numbers increases by 1, right? Plus 1, correct. And if we do columns, so columns will go down, right? In that case, what happens? See, 0 becomes 10, 10 becomes 20, 20 to 30. So in that case, it increases by 10. So that is a major difference. Moving down, it is by tens, and moving on the right, it is by. You can also say when you move left, it decreases, and if you move up, it decreases by that same amount, right? So we'll fix to this for now. Now, looking into each, there's a major difference. We have one digit numbers in the first row, right? So first row is one digit numbers. So row number one digit numbers. And all rest of the rows are other rows. 2 digit. So let me write TW. Right. So in your standard hundreds chart, this is not the rule, right? In a row, it starts with 1, ends with 10, which is a 2 digit number in the first row. And in the last row, it ends with 100, which is a 3 digit number. So that is also a major difference between the two. Correct. Now, what most of our students get from here is times tables. So how do we get the times tables from this? So that is what let's now look into. The first column gives you tens, right? So column 1 gives you tens times 10. 10 times 0, 10 times 1, right? It gives you, let me write tens here. It starts with 10 times 0, of course, right? And then goes to 10 times 1, likewise up to 10 times 9, correct? So the counting starts with 0 in our table, not really with 1. Okay, so that's what you can see. Now, let's look into the diagonals. You can always go to skip counting. So if I skip, in that case, you can see we get alternate even numbers. So let's use a different ink. We say alternate even numbers. So for numbers, I'm putting this hash, right? So numbers ending with even numbers means they end with 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, right? And we have alternate odd numbers. Perfect. In our zero starting chart, the even numbers are in odd columns, right? This is column 1, right? This is column 3. So these numbers are in odd columns, and alternate odd numbers are in even columns. You see that? This is also a distinction between the chart which we have at present to what you are used to starting from 1 to 100. It's very important when we are looking into this, also appreciating the differences which we can have by slight changes. At this stage, I'll also recommend our students to make a new chart with new numbers. One of the suggestion is include integers with negative numbers, right? So instead of beginning from 0, we could start from 50, right? So that's the idea, right? So idea. Start from, let's say, minus 50. So new, that's a new chart for you. So when you make a new hundreds chart, literally we mean 100 numbers. We do not mean 1 to 100. That's the difference in our philosophy now in understanding the hundreds chart. So we have 100 numbers placed. The criteria of putting those 100 numbers could be defined by us. Right? We could start with 100 even numbers. It is not necessary that always when we look into a chart of 100 numbers, we go from 1 to 100. Right? So we have to think differently to really understand things better. That is the idea of working on this video with you. I hope you appreciate it. Okay, great. So, can you figure out any times table here? Like 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 12. Where and how can you get those times tables? That is what is kind of important to figure out. So, one of the times table which is absolutely clear is the tables of nines. So, 9, if I go through this diagonal, gives me all the nines. So the diagonal gives you nines times table. Correct. The other times table are not all that clear. You get the whole idea. Correct. So skip counting you could do and you can count others right. Even five's timetable, you see there are two columns which can add up to five times table. Well, this is one, right? And alternately the first one. So to get the fives times table, we look into the column 1 and column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the idea. So column 1 and 6 when combined alternately gives you fives times table. So look at 2's. So 2 is alternating, and similarly 3 will be after 2 terms. So it's slightly difficult to get the times tables from this formula, but you do get other patterns which we'll discuss in a fresh page. So in this page, let's now look into the patterns. Now in this case, we'll understand how digits work. So any number, we have two digits in this case, most of the numbers, right? First row also you can say can be written as 00, right? 01, 02 till 09. So we made it two digits, placing 0 first. The other numbers, the two digits are like 10, 11, and so on till 90. So that becomes two digits. And this digit here is actually the ones place, and this here is tens place. So the place value is kind of something which we can further look into the patterns. So what you notice here that in each column the ones place is constant, right? So ones place constant. When we go down, correct? And when you go down, tens place increase, right? So this could be treated as 00. So tens place increase by 1 is plus 1. So that is what you see, right? Right. Now what happens when you go diagonally? So diagonally, let's take up one diagonal here. Perfect. So in the diagonals, what you notice is sum of digit is same. When you go diagonal. Now, in this case, there is a direction, right? So you are going diagonal right up. So you can say northeast, assuming that this is north for us, right? And that is east for us. So if you go northeast, then the sum of the digit is same. Any diagonal. You can check some of the diagonals, right? And if you add the numbers, 3 and 9 is 12, 4 and 8 is 12, 5 and 7 is 12, and so on. Now, what happens when you take a diagonal southeast? So in that case, 2 and 1 is 3, 3 and 2 is 5. It doesn't really work. You get the whole idea, right? But in this case, the difference is constant. So difference is constant. So when you go to a diagonal, southeast, correct? You can check any diagonal. So let's take up this. 5 minus 0 is actually 5, but 6 minus 1 is also 5, 7 minus 2 is also 5. So difference is constant, correct? And can you relate it to something? That is your part. So here, difference is constant, and the difference is equal to, in this particular case, 3, right? 3 minus 0, 4 minus 1. So those numbers define the difference. Makes sense? So I hope you are understanding that how moving along the diagonals, there is something which is constant. Correct. So those are the rules which we follow. So sum and difference along the diagonals. We also saw there was one diagonal which is right at the center. Along this diagonal, we have 9's timetable. Sum of digit is 9 in this particular case. 1 plus 8 is 9, 2 plus 7 is 9, right? So here, from 90, we are going right up northeast. So that follows the sum pattern, which is 9 in this particular case. Correct? So you see, we have discovered many patterns here, and we are also seeing that the patterns can be identified along the rows and along the columns. Along the rows, when you move down, the number which dominate is the column number -1, because this becomes column number 1 where you have 0. This becomes column number 2 where we have 1. And every digit in the ones place is 1. In the second column, every digit in ones place is 2. So 0, 1, 2. Right. Strictly speaking, that 2 is the third column. So, and this 9 is the 10th column. So, in this particular chart, you also see we do have the similar patterns, but their column numbers have shifted. So, that brings us to another major difference between our hundreds chart and the standard hundreds chart, which begins with 1 and goes to 100. So, idea of this particular video is also to identify the similarities and the differences between the present hundreds chart beginning with 0 and the one which you normally see beginning with 1. Brings us to the end of this video. Explore more patterns, right? Skip counting, for example, which I didn't discuss, and find many more patterns with a new chart, as I suggested, starting with -50. Perfect. Feel free to write your comment, share your views. If you like and subscribe to my videos, that'd be great. Thanks for your valuable time and all the best.